We are continuing with the leg muscles. Here's a closer view of the quads, the quadriceps femoris muscle made out of 4 separate muscles. In the middle of the quads, there is a muscle called rectus femoris. So this muscle right here is rectus femoris. Okay, this muscle is connected to the ilium of the hip bones. You can't see that connection because it's overlapped by sartorius and tensor fascia lata. Then this muscle goes towards the knee and it is actually connected to the kneecap. Its tendon is called tendon of the quadriceps femoris. Every tendon in the body also has a name. We're not going to go over every single name of the tendon. We're just not going to have enough time for it. And I'm just going to mention some of the more famous tendons like IT band, the tendon of quadriceps femoris. Quadriceps femoris muscle has a really unique appearance. It's got a sort of like a middle, and its fibers originate from that middle, from that midline towards the sides, kind of like feather. So if you had to draw a feather or like a leaf, that's what it looks like. Okay. On the side, on the medial side of the rectus femoris, there is a muscle called vastus medialis. So it's another one of the quad muscles. This muscle is also connected to the ilium of the hip. You can't see its connection because it's overlapped by all of this muscle, and it is connected to the tendon of quadriceps femoris muscle, vastus medialis, because it's on the medial side, and vastus means it's wide. On the lateral side of the rectus femoris, there is a muscle called vastus lateralis. It's also another one of the quads, vastus lateralis. It's on the lateral side of the rectus femoris. And deep under all of these 3 quads, there is a 4th quad called intermedius, vastus intermedius. Okay, last group of muscles in the upper leg region are the groin muscles. The groin muscles are going to be located right here between the legs in the groin region. If you touch your legs together, the muscles that touch together under the skin and fat, of course, this muscle is called gracilis. Gracilis means slender. More anterior to the gracilis muscle, so visible from the front, is a muscle called adductor longus. All of these groin muscles are connected to the pubic bone and then to the femur under all of these big quad muscles. So they actually overlap significantly. So if I were to outline the adductor longus, it would actually be like here. Okay, so adductor longus connects to the pubic bone and the femur. Its name suggests not only its shape, it's long, but also its function, adductor. So what this muscle does is it hugs the legs together. So if you have spread your legs apart, you're going to move them back together. That's called adduction. This is the muscles that are performing this function, the groin muscles. They are adducting the legs, they're moving the legs together. And that's very important for walking, especially if it's very slippery. You don't want your legs to separate. Every time you take a step, you're going to hug your legs together for stability. And that's going to be the function of the groin muscles. There's actually more groin muscles than only 3, but we're just going over the superficial ones. Visible from the back, so we have gracilis, and then moving more posterior, there is a muscle called adductor magnus. Adductor magnus. So adductor, again, it's involved in adduction of the legs. Magnus, it's its large size. Okay, this is a summary of all of the muscles that we went over. I forgot to mention one more muscle, and that's the muscle of the calf and the lower legs. So the muscle of the calf, so in the back of the leg, there's a muscle called gastrocnemius. This muscle has 2 sides. So this is the midline of the muscle, and it's got 2 sides, the medial side and the lateral side. This muscle is connected to the knee joint, to the bone femur. So it actually crosses the knee joint and connects to the, they're called condyles of femur, the parts that are bulging out to the side of femur. Gastrocnemius muscle, it connects to the femur across the knee joint and then its fibers converge into a single tendon in the back of the ankle. This tendon is called Achilles tendon. This tendon connects the gastrocnemius calf muscle to the heel bone, to the Achilles. Okay. The tendon of the gastrocnemius muscle is very thick, it's very strong. Gastrocnemius muscle is very, very large because this muscle is involved in walking. So this muscle carries a lot of weight. The function of this muscle is to basically push ourselves off the ground when we're taking a step. Okay, so that pushing away from the ground, either you're going to try to elevate yourself on your tippy toes, kind of like ballerina, or when you're walking, like pushing off the ground. This is the muscle gastrocnemius working. The movement of the ankle to point the toes like a ballerina is called the plantar flexion. So gastrocnemius is involved in the plantar flexion. And the last muscle that we're going over in the body is called tibialis anterior. Tibialis anterior is the shin muscle. This right here is tibialis anterior. This is the shin bone called tibia. You can feel it, very sharp edge, kind of like under the skin of the lower leg. The tibialis anterior is connected to the tibia. It's connected along the shaft of the tibia. Then it wraps around the ankle to the medial side and connects to the ankle bones. Its tendon is called the tendon of tibialis anterior. You can feel it in the front of your ankle right here, along with other large tendons of other lower leg muscles. So tibialis anterior and gastrocnemius are not the only leg muscles, they are the biggest leg muscles. And tibialis anterior is involved in the movement of the ankle, kind of like bending the ankle towards your face. So if you're like driving, you're going to push on the gas pedal, that's called plantar flexion, and you're going to ease off the gas pedal to slow down and pull your foot towards your face. This is called dorsiflexion. So tibialis anterior is involved in dorsiflexion. So when we're walking, we're actually moving our ankle in alternating plantar flexion, dorsiflexion, plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. So plantar flexion is the muscle gastrocnemius working, and plantar flexion, dorsiflexion is the tibialis anterior working. So plantar flexion, gastrocnemius, dorsiflexion, tibialis anterior. Okay, so the summary. This is all of the muscles that we went over. You guys can find this list in the presentation that I sent to you for week 10. You can also I can kind of fit this into the frame, so you can take a screenshot of this if you wish. The last thing we're going to go over is the muscles of the eyes. Yes, our eyeballs are also connected to the skeletal muscle, which allows us to move our eyes in various directions. Here's the ways we can move our eyes, illustrated by these arrows. We can move our eyes up, we can move our eyes down, we can move our eyes towards the nose, so look to one side. We can move our eyes to the other side, look away from our nose towards our ears. We can also move our eyes in a circular motions, and this is performed by 6 muscles connected to each eyeball. 6. The muscles are connected to the eyeball by tendons. This is the eyeball. It is situated inside of the eye socket. The way eye socket is shaped, so the eye socket is shaped from the cranial bones and facial bones. It is shaped kind of like a cone. So imagine an ice cream cone. This is an ice cream cone laying on its side. This is the end of the ice cream cone. This is the top of the ice cream cone, and the eyeball is kind of like a scoop of ice cream in the ice cream cone. So that's how our eye sockets are shaped. The eye sockets are shaped like cones, and the eyeball is round in shape. So we can see only a small part of it. It's also going to be covered by eyelids partially. We cannot see our eye muscles. They're also going to be covered by protective mucous tissue. So they're deep inside. They're also covered by fat and connective tissue. So we're not going to be able to see the eye muscles just by looking inside of our eye, or like under the eyelids. Okay. So what are these muscles? The muscles of the eye are going to be 6 muscles. The first muscle is the muscle that's connected to the top of the eyeball, okay, and then to the back of the eye socket. This muscle is called superior rectus. Superior rectus. That means top, and rectus means it's got kind of like a straight shape of its fibers. The muscle under the eyeball is called inferior rectus. It's connected to the underside of the eyeball and then to the back of the eye socket. Inferior, that means under, lower, rectus. Inferior rectus, superior rectus. These two muscles are involved in moving the eyes up. So look up, you're using your superior rectus. Look down, you're using your inferior rectus. The muscle on the side of the eyeball, connected to the lateral side of the eyeball. See, this is where the nose is. This is the side further away from the nose. So this is the outer corner of the eye side. So this is where the muscle is connected, called lateral rectus, to the side of the eyeball and then to the back of the eye socket. See, all of these muscles connect to the back of the eye socket, except for one. So lateral rectus muscle is involved in moving your eyes to the side. So if you take imagine the lateral rectus on your right eye, so look to the right with your right eye. Of course, left eye will follow, but if you're using your right eye, that's going to be the lateral rectus, looking to the right. Opposite of lateral rectus, on the medial side, there's going to be a muscle called medial rectus. This is medial rectus. So different view. In the previous view, we couldn't see medial rectus because it's on the opposite side of the eyeball. But if we use this view right here, the front of the eye, we can see lateral rectus is the opposite of medial rectus. This is where the nose is on the medial side. Medial rectus is also connected to the back of the eye socket, and medial rectus is involved in moving your eye to the side in the opposite direction. So if you, again, use your right eye, look towards your nose. This is the medial rectus, moving your right eye towards your nose, in the direction towards your nose. Okay. There are also two muscles connected to the eyeball that are called oblique muscles. Oblique means they are diagonal. Okay. The muscle connected to the top of the eyeball, kind of like at a diagonal, is called superior oblique muscle. Okay. It is actually connected under the superior rectus muscle. So superior rectus muscle overlaps its tendon. The superior oblique muscle is connected towards the lateral side of the eye on top. So it's not on the medial side. It begins on the lateral superior end of the eye, and then its tendon actually bends towards the medial side, so it bends closer to the nose, and then it passes through a little loop called trochlea. Trochlea is a ligamentous sling that the tendon of the superior oblique muscle passes through, and then it travels in the same direction as the rest of the eye muscles towards the back of the eye socket, and that's where it connects. So from the back of the eye socket, this muscle moves towards the medial side first, loops through the trochlea, and then connects to the superior lateral side of the eye. You can actually see it also in the frontal view, in the anterior view. So here's connection. It's connected not directly in the middle, it's connected more lateral to the midline of the eye. It's connected right here on top of the eye, lateral to the superior rectus. It's deep to the superior rectus, so it's overlapped by the superior rectus muscle. Then it bends towards the medial side of the eye, loops through the trochlea, and then travels to the back of the eye socket, directly behind the eye. Okay, this muscle is involved in looking down at the ground and scanning the ground for obstacles when we're walking. So we move our eyes in a very specific way when we're scanning our ground for obstacles when we're walking. It's a really, really important function of the eyes. We don't do it even consciously. We do it so subconsciously that we don't even realize that we're doing it sometimes. But what our eyes do, they're looking a couple of feet ahead of us, and they're going kind of like back and forth in like a semicircular motion to scan the ground for obstacles. And that's what the function of this muscle primarily is. And of course, it helps to move our eyes in a circular ways in various directions. The last muscle we're going over is the inferior oblique muscle. It's also a unique muscle of the eye. It is connected under the eyeball. This is the inferior oblique muscle. It is the muscle that connected to the lateral side of the eyeball, right under the lateral rectus muscle. Then it bends under the eyeball and overlaps the inferior rectus muscle and connects to the corner of the eye socket closest to the eye, so the medial corner of the eye socket. Here's another picture of this muscle. So inferior oblique muscle, so it's connected to the lateral side of the eyeball under the lateral rectus muscle, and then it bends under the eyeball and connects to the eye socket under the eyeball closer to the nose, so medial side of the eye socket. So it doesn't connect to the back of the eye socket like the rest of the muscles do, but instead it connects to the eye socket under the eyeball on the medial side, inferior oblique muscle. And this muscle is also involved in the movement of the eyes in the circular way, so kind of like drawing circles with your eyes. So here's the summary of all of the eye muscles. Superior rectus muscle, moving our eyes up. Inferior rectus muscle moves our eyes down. Lateral rectus muscle and medial rectus muscle move our eyes to the sides.